Hello, I'm Robert Canright. I was born in Mexico and I'm an engineer. So this topic is a Hispanic engineer talks to young people about engineering. I'm going to do 4 of these YouTube videos: the good, the bad, the ugly parts of engineering, and then what to do. So today's talk is the good parts of engineering. So what I would say is that the best part about engineering is the money. Quite frankly, when you get out of college and you start looking for your first job, all the top paying careers for fresh college graduates, just about all of them, are for engineering. I just took a look at a list. 8 of the top 10 were all engineering professions. So, you want to take care of your family, you want to look out for your children, your wife, you want to have a house, you want to be able to have money for retirement savings. All that is money, and the best way to get it is with a high-paying job. So the best part about engineering is that it gives you a good starting salary. Another good thing about engineering is you do not need to go to grad school. If you were to study law or medicine or accounting, you have to go to graduate school. Law school, medical school, a master's in accounting. But you don't have to do that for engineering. Where I first got into engineering was when I found out I could make more money with a bachelor's degree in engineering than I could with a master's degree in mathematics. And I said, well, I wanted to work to support a family, so I decided to get an engineering degree instead of a master's in mathematics. So that was the path that I took to provide for my family. So you don't have to go to grad school. Now the good thing about engineering is that there's almost always a need for engineers. It's much easier to get a job or an internship if you're in engineering. And let me give you an example of one of the downturns. There was a downturn, there were layoffs, I was laid off. Some church had seminars for people who were unemployed, and I went there. And there were about 25 engineers in our session, and when our session was over, the people who came in were the business people. There were about 100 of them. There are a lot more unemployed people with business degrees than unemployed people with engineering degrees. So you have more job opportunities as an engineer. That's a good thing. Now something else that's very good about engineering is accreditation and professional exams. The reason for that is that you do not have to go to an expensive school to study engineering. For example, I knew a young man who went to one of the best engineering schools in the country, Rensselaer Polytechnic in Troy, New York. He was a great engineer. But you know what? We were working at the same company, side by side. And I went to the local state school. I did not spend a fortune like he did for my engineering degree. And the way this works is you go to a program that's accredited. So there's accreditation groups that come in and look at the curriculum and examine it, and they give it accreditation. Last I looked, it was called ABET, the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. Maybe it's changed, but that's what it was when I was in school. So if you go to a program that's accredited, people know that you're getting a good engineer, you're going to be a competent engineer. Also, because of professional exam, there's an exam called the EIT, the Engineering Training Exam. What that means is you can take this test in your senior year or after you've graduated, and you pass it, and all over the country people know that you have demonstrated on a standard test that you have mastered engineering. So that's a good thing. You can go to a state school, you can spend a modest amount of money, you don't have to go to a private school, you don't have to go to a fancy school to become an engineer. Just go to an accredited school. And what that means is you don't need connections. a lot of professions, a lot of people looking for work, and you don't have this level of accreditation. So what happens then is you have to rely on friends and family to get a job. You have to have connections. It's not like that in engineering. Oh, sure, connections always help, but you don't need them. They really just look at your degree and your grades. You want to have good grades. So the lack of connections is good. You are measured on your own merit, you're measured on your performance, you're measured on your grades. You don't have to rely on family and friends. And here's what's really good, okay? Let's say you're the first in your family to go to college and you study engineering. Where are your family and friends? Where are your connections? You don't have them, right? Because you're the first in your family to get into this profession, right? Or to get a college degree. So you don't have connections. For that reason, if you're the first in your family to go to college, if you can get into an engineering program and pass the curriculum, it is probably the best way for you to go. So, no need for connections, great for people who are first to college, but it's difficult. It's not an easy field of study. However, and this is another good thing about engineering, it's an objective field of study. It's all about the numbers, the equations. Can you figure out what equation to use? Can you figure out how to use the equations? Can you get the correct answers? It's mathematics. Liberal arts courses are subjective. Your grade depends on the teacher liking you. In engineering, you can study hard and get good grades without having to worry how the teacher feels about you. It's objective, liberal arts are subjective. And the subjective puts you at a disadvantage if you are first to college, because you don't know perhaps the ins and outs of buttering up professors and the ropes of trying to figure out, the ins and outs of liberal arts courses, which are kind of difficult to do. So it's an objective field of study. That's excellent. It's good for you. Hard work will pay off in an objective field of study. Now, finally, one of the things that's really, really good about engineering is the sense of accomplishment that you get when you design or build something that matters to people. If you create a bridge that people can drive across, if you can create a communications device that permits people to communicate, a plane to communicate with the ground, there are all kinds of things that need to be done. And this includes computer engineering. How about the guy who invented the internet? Or the groups of people who invented that? All that's engineering. So you can have this wonderful sense of accomplishment, that you have done something that matters and that people are benefited from. So that's my last point. Now try and recap them now. I listed 7, and one is good money. These are the good things of engineering. Good money. You don't need to go to grad school. There's always a need for engineers. You don't need connections to get a job. It's an objective field of study, which means your hard work really pays off. And you have a great sense of accomplishment. So, you're a young person wondering about your future, do please consider engineering. And listen to the following videos that I will create on the bad part of engineering, because everything's got a good side and a bad side. The ugly part of engineering, which is really, quite frankly, the fact that there are people involved, and sometimes people can be ugly. So it's the good, the bad, the ugly. And then, if you go into the 4th video, I'm going to tell you what to do to succeed in engineering. So, if you are a young person, think this through, and remember, there's not a lot of Hispanic engineers. If you're Hispanic or another minority, please consider engineering. It's got a great opportunity for you. Thank you very much.